Now, I wonder how a compass that shows me which way to the North Pole can help me make a shadow clock. Have you been wondering about that? Well, that's one of the things we're going to do today. With the help of this compass, we're going to make a shadow clock.
Now, boys and girls, it's time to wonder. Here's the show that makes wondering fun, Uncle Wonder's Workshop. And here he is, Uncle Wonder.
Gee, I'm glad you stopped by. I'm very glad that you could visit with me today. You know, we had so much fun with light waves and shadows last time we were together that I found out that we can have more fun with shadows today. In fact, we can have it do something useful for us. Now, do you remember what we said a shadow was? Well, now remember, when you put something in front of a light to stop some of the light waves, as I do right here with my hand, then I have a shadow of my hand. See? And we can even make some of our little shadow animal friends, like Ruff, ruff, ruff. Fido, our faithful dog. Now, of course, you've seen your shadow outside in the sun, haven't you? Why, sure you have. And I'll bet you've tried to catch your shadow, too. Now, the light can't go through you boys and girls as it can through a window. And when you stop the light by standing in the sun, you make a shadow. Now, a window glass does not make a shadow because the light can go right on through. Now, the wood that holds the glass will cause a shadow, though. Why, of course it will, because that's why the light can't go through. It can't go through the wood, but it can go through the glass. Now, let's go back to your shadow in the sun again. Have you ever noticed how in the morning your shadow is so long, and around noontime, it's so small and right under you? Why, for goodness sakes, it's so small, you can hardly see it. Now, what do you suppose happens? Now, that's something to wonder about, isn't it? I know something. I'll bet you remember our earth grapefruit right here from the last time, don't you? Well, let's look at it again, and we'll see why your shadow gets long and then short. And here's our sun again. But before we do anything, let's put this bit of a pencil into our grapefruit earth, like this, because that's going to be you, or just anybody. Now remember, we said the sun doesn't move, but we do the moving. Now remember that. Our earth turns just like this. But so that you can see everything nice and clear, suppose we put the lights out, shall we? Now, are you all ready? Right now, we'll start off just like this, and you are in the shadow, right over there. Now, you're in the shadow that we call night. Now, it's a shadow because our sun cannot shine through the solid earth to the other side, can it? Now, as you get up in the morning with the sun out here, look at the long, long shadow of the nail. Can you see it? See how long it is right there? Now, as you come closer to lunchtime, and the earth turns you some more until the sun is just about overhead, look. Look at your shadow now. Why, we can barely see it. It's so short. Now, let's turn our lights back on. Of course, as you turn past the sun, why, your shadow begins to get longer all over again. And now you're going to know next time that when the shadow is very small, it's close to noontime. and perhaps time for lunch. And then when your shadow gets long, why, it's probably near supper time. Now, since the shadow changes when we turn toward or away from the sun, and we know that it will always do that, why, I'll bet we could tell time with shadows. In fact, right now, let's make our shadow clock, all right, boys and girls? And say, I hope you can get your mother and dad to help you make this shadow clock. In fact, make a lot of things. We'll have lots of fun together. Well, now, first, let's use this piece of hard paper right here. Now, right here is a piece of square paper. Now, what I'm going to do is cut it in half from one corner to the other. Now, cut it straight so that your shadow clock will look nice and neat. In fact, be very careful with the scissors while you're cutting. In fact, you might bend one side of it out of the way so you can cut it a little more straighter and easier. Right down to the other corner, just like that. Now that we've cut it in half, here's what we're going to do. Cut it from here, and then we'll make almost a half circle like this, because we want our pointer to look as much like an arrow as we possibly can. Take your time in making the circle, and it will come out nice and neat. There, just like that. Now, with our compass. Now, remember I said our compass was going to be very, very important in the making of our shadow clock. And with our compass, we'll place that right here on our round piece of paper, like that. And we'll find out which way it is to the North Pole. The compass will always point there, you know. And when you know where the North Pole is, why, you can find the South Pole, too. Why, sure, it's right behind you, away from the north. Someday, let's wonder about the North Pole, all right? But right now, we have our shadow clock to make. Now that we have our pointer all ready, here's what we're going to do. We're going to slip it into the notch of our big paper disc, just like this. Now, we have a very good beginning for our shadow clock. Now we need our sun again, don't we? And for our sun, we'll use our flashlight, and so that you can see it clear, I'll turn out the lights. Now, remember, when the sun is halfway across the sky at noontime or 12 o'clock, like right there, we'll find the shadow, and we'll mark it with the pencil right here on the paper. Now, remember, using our flashlight, we're going to make believe it's the sun. Of course, you'll have to do this out in the sun, boys and girls, but I'll show you how right here in the workshop. Now, with the help of a regular clock that you'll find in the house, every hour after noontime, we'll mark the place where the shadow falls. Now, we'd make a mark there, and one there. That, of course, would be 10. And then as that moved on, we'd get to 9 and make another mark until we went all the way around as far as we could go. See? Just like that. Making a mark, remember, each hour. And, of course, to find out when that hour is, you'll have to use a clock like you probably have sitting right on the mantel. Now, see how our shadow moves? Just like that. Now, the marks in the morning will be the same as the marks in the afternoon because the Earth turns at the same speed in the morning as it does in the afternoon. Now, shall we turn on our lights once again? Now, after we have all of our numbers all the way around our shadow clock, now you just keep it up and keep the shadows going and keep real good track of it, making the marks right there. Now, when you want to know what time it is, boys and girls, you first go out in the sun, point the arrow to the north, and the shadow will tell you what time it is. As easy as that. Now, the one you are marking will not be as good as the clocks you have at home, but it will be fun to tell time with a shadow and the light from the sun. Now remember, it has to be sunny out to tell time this way. And when you've learned how to find the way to the North Pole on your compass, then you can put your arrow in the direction and you'll be able to come fairly close to the exact time. Now, you ask your mom to make a mark on your circle where supper time is. Why, it might be anywhere, but you have Mother mark it so that when you're out playing and then you check your shadow clock, you'll know when to come home for supper. Now, a long, long time ago, this was the only way that people could tell what time it was. Someone probably found out how to do this one day just by noticing his shadow and wondering about it. Now, just think of it. Now you can do the very same thing. It's pretty wonderful, isn't it? You know, I have a great big shadow clock. We call them sundials. And I wish I could have shown it to you, but it's so heavy that I couldn't quite bring it down here to the workshop. So I took a picture of it so that I could show you what it looks like. There it is. See how pretty and big it is? And it tells me the time. Of course it does. Oh, say, I almost forgot. It's time to mix some plant food for the greenhouse. Have everything all ready. Gee, plants have to have food and everything just like all of us, so that they grow pretty and have very, very pretty buds. There. Gee whiz, I didn't mean to forget that so soon. And let's see, I have my stir and the plant food and the water. I guess we're just about all ready. And we'll get all ready to... What's this? What's this? What's this? What in the world has happened? Did you see that? The pencil that I was using for the mixing stick. It looks as if it's broken. But it's not. I wonder what makes it look broken like that. Well, just look at that. Isn't that amazing? Do you have any idea what that could possibly be? What could possibly be happening to the pencil that we were going to use for a mixing stick? I wonder what it could be. See, it's broken, but yet when I put it in there, it surely does look as if it's broken. Something else to wonder about. And the next time that you and I get together, maybe we'll find out why it looks that way. Is that a bargain with you? Wonder now. And until then, so long, and remember, it's fun to wonder.
This is National Educational Television.